Hi, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Kiefer, and today I'm going to read you a story called How Rocket Learned to Read. In this story, Rocket meets a little bird that is very excited about teaching him how to read. Something like how teachers feel about wanting you to learn how to read. I want you to see as I read the story how Rocket feels about reading. Maybe you might feel the same way. Let's get to the story and see what happens. Here we go. How Rocket Learned to Read. Here we go. Rocket loved to play. He loved to chase leaves and chew sticks. He loved to listen to the birds sing. Here's our next illustration. Every fall morning, after chasing leaves, Rocket would lie down in his favorite spot under his favorite tree. There he'd sniff the neighborhood smells and settle in for a good nap. But one day, a little yellow bird startled Rocket. "Ah, my first student! Wonderful!" she sang. Rocket was confused. "Student? I'm not a—" "But if I am your teacher," the bird interrupted, "then you must be my student." Rocket found it hard to argue with the bird. Here's the next illustration. "Can't read? Fantastic!" She waved a wing. "Welcome to my classroom." "But I just came here to nap," said Rocket. No, there will be no napping in class," declared the bird. "Except, of course, during nap time." "Well then, I can take a nap over here," said Rocket. "I've had a very busy morning." "Not to worry, I'll be around every day," chirped the bird, "until the weather turns." There's Bird's little classroom. It says class starts today on the blackboard. And there's Rocket hiding behind the bush. He doesn't seem very eager to want to be a student in Bird's class or learn how to read. There's the whole spread. If you can look in closely, there's the alphabet across a few trees. And it says, "As Rocket breathed in the crisp air, the little yellow bird hung her banner. Ah, the wondrous, mighty, glorious alphabet," she marveled, "where it all begins." Here we go. Here's the next illustration. Opening up a book, the bird began to read. She sang out the story of an unlucky dog named Buster who'd lost his favorite bone. A cool breeze carried her lively voice across the yard. At first, Rocket felt disturbed. Disturbed means he felt like someone was bothering him. But before long, he found himself captivated. To Rocket, the story was as delicious as the earthly smells of fall. It was as exciting as chasing leaves. He closed his eyes and listened to every word. "As Buster dug and dug under the lilac bush," the bird read, "he felt something familiar. Rocket waited. Was it a bone, he wondered? Silence. Was it a bone? He called to the bird. More silence. Was it a bone? Rocket hollered. Suddenly, he was rushing up to the tree. Well, was it? But the little yellow bird was gone. And there's Rocket looking up at the tree and wondering. He just had to hear how the story ended. I think maybe his feelings are changing about reading. Let's see. The next morning, Rocket arrived early. At last, the little yellow bird appeared. Hello! How wonderful to see you in class, she chirped. I can tell by your waggy tail that you are well rested. I'd like to hear the end of the story, please, said Rocket. There's Rocket. On the little blackboard, it says, word of the day, dog. That seems like a fine start to the day, chirped the bird, and she gave Rocket a name tag and began to read. Every day, Rocket returned to the little yellow bird's classroom. In the morning, the bird taught him a new letter until he had learned all of the wondrous, mighty, glorious alphabet. Together, they sang out the sounds that each letter makes and spelled the words they heard around them. With a G and many R's, they spelled Mr. Barker's growl. Grrr. Ooh, Mr. Barker. They spelled the sound of the wind, which was growing colder by the day. Whoosh. Look at Rocket by the tree. Soon they were spelling words like fall for the gusty time of year, and R-E-D, red, for the color of the leaves. And each afternoon the bird read a story. She read stories about dogs and birds. She read about leaves changing colors and about birds flying south for the winter. Then one day the weather turned and the letter banner disappeared. See you again in the glorious spring, the bird sang. And as she flew into the wintry sky, she called, don't forget, words are built one letter at a time. And there's the bird and Rocket. Rocket's watching her fly off. He doesn't look very happy. The days grew shorter and the leaves fell from the trees. The grass became crunchy. Soon Rocket's classroom disappeared under the snow. He remembered the little yellow bird's alphabet and his practice letters. Look at that. So Rocket is running around making practice letters in the snow. That sounds like a pretty fun thing to do. Rocket thought about the bird's sweet chirp while he sounded out words like d, I, g, dig, and w, ind, wind, and k, old, cold. He made new friends and spelled their names. Hello, E-M-M-A, Emma. Hi there, F-R-E-D, Fred. He spelled everything. S-U-N, sun. M-E-L-T, melt. When Rocket spelled M-U-D, mud, he knew that spring, as it always does, had returned. The breeze blew warmer, the grass grew greener, and a sign appeared. The sign says, "Class starts today." Early the next morning, Rocket rushed to his classroom. He waited. He spelled W-A-G, wag. Soon the little yellow bird arrived. "Ah, my star student," she sang. "How wonderful to see you. I can tell by your wagging tail that you are ready for class." And there's Rocket and the little bird. And it says, "Welcome back, Rocket," on the sign. I think Rocket might feel a little bit differently about learning how to read now. There he is. Look how close he's sitting next to the bird. And look at that pile of books. I think Rocket definitely has changed how he feels about reading. Then together they began to read. They read stories about birds flying north in the spring. They read about picnics in the warm sun. And they read about Buster, the lucky dog who found his bone under the lilac bush. So Rocket finally learned what the dog had found in the story that they started from the beginning. And when they were done, they read it again and again, and A-G-A-I-N, again. So, boys and girls, maybe you might feel like Rocket, and maybe you're not so excited about learning how to read. Maybe you feel that it might be really difficult and that it might be hard for you. But just remember, give yourself time, and you too will learn to read like Rocket, and you will soar far beyond what Rocket could ever read. Thank you for listening, boys and girls. I'll see you soon. Bye now.